Sundown towns. If you're not familiar with them, you will be after today. Let's go. Sundown towns are places where all it takes is being black to be a crime. A sundown town is not just a place where something racist happened, they were entire communities or counties that for decades were all white on purpose. I mean, there may have been a black family or two within the limits, and of course the servants and interracial children within the households, those didn't count. And I wanted to note that some sundown towns, they also kept out Chinese Americans, Jewish individuals, Mexican Americans, Native Americans, and yes, even Mormons. And you would think that places like this only existed in the Deep South, but some of those same states that fought against slavery in the Civil War, they removed blacks from their small towns and their cities and made sure that nobody who wasn't white was able to move in. With that said, the phenomenon seems to be mainly a northern one, as relatively few sundown towns in the South have been identified. Now, the South, it had many deplorable methods for keeping blacks down, but sundown towns, that wasn't their main one. And though typically none of this is on record, you can find many widespread stories if you just start digging. Now, a census could really tell the tale, as a population may go from hundreds or thousands of black residents at one point to zero at the next, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that those people were driven out. Like in the case of Ferguson, Missouri, this was a sundown town between 1940 and 1960. However, by 2014, it was 67% black, so that just goes to show that over the years, it did begin to integrate. Around 1970 in Alex, Arkansas, they had a sign that you would see going into town that said, N-word, don't let the sun go down on you in Alex. Can you imagine that? And 2 hours south in Mena, Arkansas, a sign that advertised the town read, cool summers, mild winters, no blizzards, and no Negroes. In James Loewen's book, Sundown Towns, A Dimension of Segregation Across America, it listed 507 sundown towns in Illinois alone and thousands across America. Then you had the Negro Motorist Green Book by Victor Hugo Green, which was developed specifically to help black people find a list of places where you'd be welcome in the 1930s. One of the first recorded examples of sundown towns in America emerged during the colonial era. In 1759, His Majesty's province of New Hampshire passed a stipulation forbidding nighttime travel of non-white residents in order to prevent disorders that happened at night. And what about the brutal red summer of 1919 when an armed white mob in Corbin, Kentucky rounded up some 300 men, women, and children and then violently forced them into rail cars headed for other towns? While sundown towns were once thought to be a shameful relic of the past, some black travelers maintain that they still remain today. And while some communities wish to put their shameful past behind them, the only way to do that is by admitting their past, apologizing for it, and then vowing to never let that happen again.